The city was held captive by a spectacle of absurd extravagance, all for the return of one man, Samuel, the first and only true love of my fiancé tilde copyright, Theodore. A crimson carpet of rose petals, flown in from halfway across the world, unfurled across the asphalt. A fleet of dozens of luxury automobiles, gleaming under the afternoon sun, stood in a silent, reverent line. High above, a swarm of hundreds of drones danced in the sky, forming patterns of welcome. Rumor had it that Theodore had single-handedly bought out every firework supplier in the entire city, all to orchestrate a pyrotechnic symphony for Samuela Eurostrade's homecoming dinner. It was a display of affection so grand, so ostentatious, it bordered on the comical. I couldn't help but let out a quiet, internal sigh. This was the same Theodore who always presented himself as a man of ice, devoid of a single romantic impulse. Yet here he was, fanning his tail feathers like the most desperate peacock in the world for the newly returned Samuel. The sheer bitterness of the comparison was a sour taste in my mouth. I sat alone at a vast, empty dining table in our shared home, the silence a stark contrast to the city's celebration. My phone screen glowed, displaying a short video Theodore had posted just a minute earlier. In it, a bespoke luxury car, one of only 3 ever made, purred at the curb. Theodore, with a reverence Eurostrade never seen him display for anyone or anything, moved to open the door. And then, he emerged. Samuel, the celebrated young master of the Capitale Eurostrade's elite circle, dressed in an immaculate white suit. The moment his face filled the screen, my breath caught in my throat. His features were sculpted with an artist Eurostrade's precision, exuding a cold, aristocratic grace that perfectly matched his reputation. He was, in every sense of the word, celestial Euros, a moon in the night sky, distant and luminous. Samuel. My fingers drifted to my own face, a sad, involuntary gesture. From somewhere down the hall, the whispers of 2 maids grew louder as they approached the dining room. Mr. Samuel is finally back. The other one snickered. I suppose the one in the house will be packing his bags and getting lost then, wonner Eurostrade tee. A cruel little laugh followed. Of course, the real master has returned, so the counterfeit should crawl back to whatever hole he came from. HMPH. He really thinks he Eurostrade's some kind of young master. He Eurostrade's nothing but a shameless parasite who latched on for the ride. The dining room doors swung open, and the 2 maids froze, startled to find me sitting there. The shock quickly melted into undisguised annoyance. They rolled their eyes, making no effort to conceal their contempt. I rose from the table, a wave of dejection washing over me. Picking up my phone, I walked out of the room and drifted back to my bedroom like a phantom. The moment the door clicked shut, the performance ended. My entire demeanor shifted. I lifted the phone, Samuela Eurostrade's perfect face still glowing on the screen, and pressed a series of frantic, secret kisses against the glass. War Eurostrade back. War Eurostrade finally back, I whispered to the image. Eurostrade been waiting for you for so long. Samuel, you have no idea what these last 6 months have been like. Every single day, from the moment I opened my eyes until I closed them at night, it was a performance. I was an actor in a 24-hour reality show with no cameras and no audience except myself. Do you have any idea how exhausting it is to be a professional stand-in lover? Vater Eurostrade's right. I am Theodore Eurostrade's substitute, a replacement lover hired on a contract. There were no genuine feelings involved. It was a transaction sustained entirely by my acting skills. Generations ago, my family, the Arwens, had a name that commanded respect. But that legacy crumbled under my father Eurostrade's catastrophic business acumen. He had the meters touch in reverse. Everything he touched turned to debt. It wasn't a Eurostrade that he was a lazy playboy. He was an enthusiastic entrepreneur, which was far worse. He poured his energy and our dwindling fortune into one failed venture after another. The more effort he exerted, the more spectacular the failure. So, when I returned from a post-graduation trip abroad, I was greeted with the delightful news that our family was teetering on the edge of total financial collapse. My own aspirations of becoming a renowned designer were unceremoniously shelved. My father dragged me from one humiliating banquet to another, begging for investments and partnerships. We spent entire nights playing the part of humble supplicants, only to leave empty-handed. Our Eurostrade LL never forget him patting my shoulder one night, a strange calm in his eyes as he said, "Well, son, my life is what it is. At least I got to enjoy the good times. From now on, war Eurostrade read on your own." I wanted to scream. He Eurostrade enjoyed enough, but my life had barely begun. Just as he was preparing to declare bankruptcy, a miracle occurred. A call came from the Fu family, the titans of the capital. They wanted to discuss a cooperation. My father was ecstatic. The reason, he soon discovered, was that the Fu family Eurostrade's eldest son, Theodore, had apparently fallen in love with me at first sight at one of those very banquets. In an era where same-sex marriage was legal and accepted, my father saw his salvation. He patted my shoulder again, this time with a triumphant gleam in his eye. "All you are Eurostrade losing is your freedom to love," he Eurostrade said cheerfully. "But you are Eurostrade regaining a fortune and securing your father Eurostrade's future business empire." "Thanks, Dad. I really didn't Eurostrade want it." My relationship with Theodore was sterile. He was cold, demanding, domineering, and perpetually dismissive. Beyond those charming qualities, he was tolerable. But there was one glaring, inescapable fact. In the 2 years we were together, he never once touched me. Not a single intimate act. For the longest time, I harbored a deep-seated suspicion that Theodore was impotent. Then, about 6 months ago, I had a peculiar dream that shattered my reality. I dreamt that I was a character in a novella specifically, the click a tilde copyright, villainous male supporting role in a story centered around a circumflex white moonlighter Eurostrade. In this narrative, upon some whaler Eurostrade's return, I would be consumed by a venomous jealousy. I would resort to a series of despicable schemes to drive a wedge between him and Theodore. Naturally, every one of my plots would backfire spectacularly, serving only to strengthen their unbreakable bond. The story would conclude with me, broken and defeated, being thrown into prison by the cold-blooded and ruthless protagonist, Theodore. The mere thought of that tragic future sent a shiver down my spine. Jealousy? What was there to be jealous of? The real prize wasn't Theodore, it was the severance package. Taking the money and disappearing sounded like a dream come true. Humming a cheerful tune, I strode over to my wardrobe, pulled out a large suitcase, and began to pack. Samuel was back, which meant it was time for the stand-in to collect his paycheck and make his grand exit. I had never been happier. The welcome dinner for Samuel was scheduled for the following evening. I took a taxi to the opulent villa where the event was being held. As I approached, I saw him. Theodore, standing on the periphery, his gaze fixed on Samuel with an expression of pure, undisguised adoration. Samuel was the center of this universe, a moon orbited by a constellation of fawning socialites. I took a deep breath, slipped into character, and walked over to stand beside Theodore. I carefully arranged my features into a mask of profound sadness, letting my eyes well up with unshed tears. I stood there for a full 2 minutes, a silent, tragic figure, hoping my performance was convincing enough to earn me a bonus on my breakup fee. But Theodore didn't even notice me. His eyes were glued to Samuel, as if the rest of the world had ceased to exist. It was Samuel, ironically, who saw me first. He excused himself from the circle of admirers and began walking towards us. Only then did Theodore, following Samuel's line of sight, finally turn his head. The moment he saw me, his body went rigid. A flush of panic crept up his neck and his eyes darted around nervously. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. I stared at him, my heart, or rather, my acting aching with manufactured pain. My nose tingled. I glanced at the approaching Samuel, then quickly lowered my head, as if I couldn't bear to look at his radiant perfection. My gaze dropped to the floor, my fingers unconsciously twisting the corner of my jacket. I spoke in a voice barely above a whisper, choked with emotion. "Should I not have come to find you?" Then, with a sudden, dramatic movement, I lifted my head. The abruptness of the gesture sent a tear splashing from the corner of my eye. Theodore's face showed not a flicker of pity. All I saw was panic as he looked at Samuel, and a flash of pure disgust as he looked at me. I just wanted to see you," I whispered, my voice breaking. Theodore leaned in close, his voice a venomous whisper. "Owen, know your place. Did you really think you were my fiancé? Copyright. If you dare ruin this for me, I swear I'll crush your family's pathetic little company by sunrise tomorrow." I kept my head bowed, feigning utter devastation. This was classic Theodore. For 2 years, he never once breathed a word about me being a substitute. The illusion was everything. But the moment Samuel returned, the mask was torn away, and I was bluntly informed of my true status. Before I had awakened, this revelation would have shattered me. I had genuinely believed, in my naivety, that we were building something real. No wonder the original Owen in the novel became so unhinged. But I was no longer that love-struck fool. Before Theodore could issue any more threats, Samuel arrived, his presence immediately silencing the tense exchange. His eyes swept over me, a flicker of surprise in their cool depths. Theodore tensed, a new wave of panic washing over him. He opened his mouth to speak, but Samuel interrupted him. "And who is this young master? I don't believe we met. Hello, Mr. Samuel," I began, then paused, casting a wounded look at Theodore. He shot me a glare. I arranged my face into an expression of wronged innocence and continued, "I'm here to discuss a potential cooperation with Mr. Theodore." Yes, Theodore chimed in, latching onto the excuse. "Cooperation. He seeking an investment." He gave me a look that was almost appreciative, then pulled out his phone. A moment later, mine vibrated. A message appeared here: $20 million. Now get out of here. My heart soared. Mission accomplished. Time to retreat. But as I was about to make my exit, a waiter approached with a tray. On it were 2 glasses of what looked like champagne. Samuel casually took one. The sycophantic Theodore immediately followed suit, taking the other. 2 glasses, 2 protagonists. My senses tingled. This had to be it. The spiked wine from the novella Eurostrade's plot. In the original story, this was the moment. Samuel and Theodore would drink the drugged wine, leading to a passionate night that solidified their relationship. Meanwhile, the heartbroken stand-in Euros would be unceremoniously kicked to the curb, setting off my downward spiral of brainless villainy. I couldn't Eurostrade help but stare at the glass in some whaler Eurostrade's hand. The liquid within was crystal clear, showing no visible sign of tampering. My intense gaze must have been obvious, because Samuel extended the glass towards me. "Want a drink?" Under Theodore Eurostrade's piercing glare, I shook my head frantically. No. Vater Eurostrade's for you. I couldn't Eurostrade possibly. The 20 million in my bank account was screaming at me to leave. I quickly mumbled an excuse and turned to go. As I walked away, I glanced back. Samuel was taking a slow sip from his glass, his eyes still fixed on my face. A wave of pity for Theodore washed over me. With some whaler Eurostrade's celestial looks and magnetic presence, it felt like such a waste for him to be saddled with a brute like Theodore. In my haste to escape, I failed to notice the thoughtful, almost calculating expression on some whaler Eurostrade's face as he lowered the glass from his lips. The 20 million severance pay felt like a golden ticket to freedom. Before leaving the villa for good, I made a detour past a table laden with exquisite pastries and drinks. They smelled divine and looked sinfully expensive. I indulged myself, eating and drinking until I was completely satisfied. All that rich food, however, soon sent me searching for a restroom. On my way out, as I passed a closed door down a quiet hallway, it was suddenly pulled open from the inside. I stopped in my tracks, my eyes meeting the figure stumbling out. It was Samuel. His face was flushed a deep crimson, his clothes were in disarray, and his eyes were glazed over. "Samuel, you are Euros." I glanced around the empty hallway. There was no sign of the story's other protagonist, Theodore. Something was wrong. I rushed forward, my arm instinctively going out to support him as he swayed. I guided him back into the room he had just exited. "Samuel, you can't Eurostrade be seen like this. Just rest here for a bit. I'll Eurostrade go find Theodore for you." I helped him onto a plush sofa, but as I turned to leave, his hand shot out, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. He yanked me back forcefully. I lost my balance and tumbled directly into his lap, landing in his arms. "HMMPH," he grunted, his voice thick and husky. "Why would I want him? Eater Eurostrade's much better with you here." "What?" For a moment, it felt like my brain couldn't Eurostrade process the words. Before I could formulate a response, some whaler Eurostrade's flushed face was leaning into mine. His mouth crashed against my lips, not in a kiss, but in a fierce, desperate bite. Our lips and teeth collided. This man, who normally carried himself with a cool detachment of a celestial body, was now a storm of uncontrolled passion, rampaging through my mouth. My lips went numb from the bruising force of his assault. I struggled against him, trying to push him away, but he was deceptively strong, pinning me with one arm. The world spun. The next thing I knew, I was being pressed down onto a bed, my clothes in a state of utter disarray. I looked up at Samuel, who was breathing heavily above me. A deep blush stained the corners of his eyes, and his fingertips felt like fire as they danced across my skin. Samuel, you are Eurostrade V. Got the wrong person. I gasped, my voice laced with panic, desperately trying to halt his advance. He loomed over me, his gaze intense and unwavering. His suit jacket was a crumpled heap on the floor. With one hand he tore off his tie and then, with slow, deliberate movements, began to wrap it around my wrists. "Samuela euros be good," he murmured, his voice a low growl. Once he was certain I was restrained, he leaned down again, grabbing my chin and kissing me with a renewed ferocity. A wave of weakness washed over me. My mind became a hazy blur. My entire body felt like it was on fire, and he was pulling me down into a swirling abyss of heat and sensation. When consciousness returned, the sun was already slanting through the windows in long, golden afternoon beams. My body felt like it had been trampled by a herd of elephants. Every muscle ached, and my throat was as dry as desert sand. I looked around this unfamiliar room. There was no sign of the culprit. That bastard Samuel. Such a handsome face wasted on a complete scoundrel. Suddenly, the door was kicked open with a deafening bang. "Owen, how dare you cuckold me?" Theodore stormed into the room, his face a mask of purple rage. Trailing behind him was a gaggle of young socialites, their faces alight with morbid curiosity, eager to witness the drama. Seeing me lying dazed in bed, Theodore strode over and ripped the quilt off my body. My form, clad only in underwear, was exposed to everyone. Ambiguous red marks, the clear evidence of the previous nighter Eurostrade's activities, were scattered across my skin like angry constellations. "Owen, you really are cheap," he sneered. "The moment my back is turned, you climb into another Marner Eurostrade's bed. Was the money I gave you not enough?" "Enough? Are you insane?" I clutched a pillow to my chest, staring at him as if he had lost his mind. "You are Eurostrade re the one who paid me to get lost yesterday." My incredulous gaze seemed to provoke him further. He raised his hand, poised to strike me. At that exact moment, the bathroom door swung open. Samuel emerged, wrapped in a white bathrobe, water dripping from his dark hair. He leaned casually against the doorframe, arms crossed over his chest, and surveyed the scene with an air of utter calm. "Is there a problem?" Hearing that familiar, cool voice, Theodore, who was still bent over my bed, froze. His entire body trembled. For a long moment, he didn't Eurostrade dare to turn around. But just because he didn't Eurostrade look didn't Eurostrade mean Samuel wouldn't Eurostrade come closer. On the bedside table, a set of freshly delivered clothes lay waiting. Samuel walked calmly to the bed, ignoring the stunned crowd, and picked them up. He glanced down at me, still sitting on the bed and staring up at him. His cold gaze swept over my body. Not getting up yet. A hot blush of embarrassment crept up my neck. I glanced at Theodore Eurostrade's stiff, pale face. I tried to swing my legs out of bed, but the aftermath of the previous nighter Eurostrade's intensity hit me like a physical blow. It was fine when I was sitting, but the moment I tried to stand, a sharp soreness shot through my waist and legs. My balance gave way, and I stumbled, falling directly into Samuela Eurostrade's waiting arms. The force of the fall pulled open the loosely tied pajamas someone had put on me, revealing the snow-white skin of my chest, decorated with even more evidence of our encounter. A sharp gasp came from behind me. It was Theodore. His voice trembled with disbelief when he spoke. "You €2 last night." I felt a pang of genuine pity for him. His precious, high and mighty white moonlight had been drugged, and what should have been his golden opportunity was hijacked by me. the insignificant supporting character who was supposed to be long gone. Out of some misplaced sense of obligation to my former benefactor, I was about to turn and offer a weak explanation. But some whaler Eurostrade's hand moved to the back of my neck, holding me in place. His eyes were glacial now, a stark contrast to the feverish, red-tinged passion of the night before. He looked at Theodore, then picked up the quilt from the bed and wrapped it completely around my body. "You are Eurostrade V. Come at a good time," Samuel said, his voice level and devoid of emotion. He paused, then glanced down at me. "Thesa Euros Umer Euros Water Eurostrade's your name again. You were Euros Owen, right?" "Owen," he continued, his gaze returning to Theodore. "From now on, he Eurostrade's your little brother-in-law." A stunned silence fell over the room. It wasn't Eurostrade T, just the onlookers who were confused. I was utterly baffled myself. I slowly, stiffly turned my head to look at Theodore. His eyes were burning with a murderous rage. He looked at me as if he wanted to devour me whole. Later, I sat dressed on a sofa facing Samuel, who was calmly sipping a cup of coffee. "Samuel," I began hesitantly, "what you said back there at Euros asking them to call me Thartar Euros Ire Eurostrade, am not sure I understand what you meant." His long, elegant fingers pushed a stack of papers across the table towards me. I picked them up. It was a dossier, a concise summary of my 20-odd years of life. The very first page detailed the 2-year contractual relationship between Theodore and myself. "Samuel, Ire Euros, I touched you," he said simply, cutting me off. "You can decide if you want to be with me. Buter Euros robbing someone of Thera Euros their partner Euros I wouldn't Eurostrade T dare. You don't Eurostrade T need to worry about that," he said, his tone dismissive. He took another sip of coffee. "I don't Eurostrade T consider the Fu family to be of any consequence." He paused, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips. "Is it possible that a circumflex Euros partner Eurostrade you are Eurostrade referring to as yourself?" He slid another document across the table. I opened it. It was a contract, but all the pages inside were blank. My confusion must have been evident on my face. "A contract relationship," he clarified. "I know, Eater Eurostrade's terribly old-fashioned." "Samuel, what happened last night was an accident," I said, finding my voice. "We have no history, no connection. I, Owen, am not the kind of person you think I am." I frowned, pushing the blank contract back towards him, my voice firm with manufactured righteousness. "I, Owen, would rather starve to death on the street than sell myself again. 20 million a month in allowances," he said smoothly. "In addition, you can write whatever other terms you desire on those blank pages." I swallowed hard. My eyes were glued to the contract, unable to move. 20 million a month. I had played the part of Theodore Eurostrade's devoted lover for 2 years, on call 24/7 with my award-winning acting, and my total severance pay was only 20 million. This was Euros astronomical. The idea was old-fashioned, yes, but the compensation was anything but. No wonder Theodore had been so obsessed with pursuing him. Samuel wasn't a Eurostrade T, just a young master. He was a walking, talking vault. My own father had never been this generous. "Since Mr. Owen isn't a Eurostrade T willinger Euros," Samuel began, reaching for the contract. "Our Eurostrade am willing," I blurted out, slapping my hand down on the papers to stop him. His eyes crinkled in a genuine smile. I seized the opportunity, pressing my face against his outstretched palm and rubbing against it like a cat. My voice became sickeningly sweet. Samuel, you truly are an excellent judge of character. That evening, around 8 or Euros trade clock, Samuel rang Theodore Euros trade's doorbell. The moment the door opened, the scowl on Theodore Euros trade's face vanished, replaced by a hopeful smile. It was a masterful display of face changing. Samuel, you came to see me. Samuel, his expression cool and elegant, simply shook his head. He reached behind him and pulled me into view. Euros trade am here with him to collect his luggage. I offered Theodore, my former benefactor, a wide, flattering, toothy grin, an attempt to project friendliness. He glared back, his jaw clenched so tightly I could see the veins pulsing in his neck. Honestly, Euros trade am a genius. If I hadn't Euros trade desperately pleaded with Samuel to accompany me, I have no doubt Theodore would have torn me limb from limb. He didn't Euros trade say another word, just let out a ragged breath and stepped aside to let us pass. Samuel walked in with his usual calm grace. I scurried behind him, sticking as close as possible. When Theodore took a half step in my direction, I yelped and threw my arms around Samuel Euros trade's waist in a shameless display of feigned terror. Samuel, Euros trade am scared. Samuel patted my hand reassuringly, then turned to look at Theodore. He Euros trade's timid. Dona Euros trade frighten him. This only made Theodore Euros trade's glare more menacing. I trotted quickly into the side room I had occupied for 2 years, grabbed my suitcase, and returned. As we were about to leave, Theodore cornered me near the door, hissing in my ear. Owen, you are Euros trade better watch your back. How terrifying. Euros trade been threatened. So, right there in front of him, I threw myself dramatically into Samuel Euros trade's arms, burying my face in his chest. But over his shoulder, through the shield of my arms, I shot Theodore a triumphant, provocative smile. HMPH. Euros trade am doing it on purpose. Come and get me. He had manipulated me, tricked me, and then discarded me like trash the second Samuel reappeared. I remembered every slight, every cold dismissal. If it weren't for the money, I wouldn't have played his game for a minute, let alone 2 years. Now I had the money and I had his true love. I had burned the bridge completely. Being submissive had only brought me grief. It was far more satisfying to embrace my role as the villain and seek bold, open revenge. Sitting in the passenger seat of Samuel Euros trade's car, the memory of Theodore Euros trade's furious, impotent rage filled me with a giddy sense of satisfaction. It was exhilarating. You lived in the side room, Samuel said suddenly, his voice breaking the silence as he started the car. I was startled for a moment, then blinked my big, innocent eyes at him and offered the information like a precious secret. Yes, for 2 whole years. Euros trade been in the side bedroom the entire time. Theodore hasn't Euros trade touched you in 2 years. It seemed that even a man as composed as Samuel couldn't Euros trade resist a bit of gossip. Exactly. I leaned closer, lowering my voice conspiratorially as we stopped at a red light. I suspect he Euros trade's impotent. Samuel turned his head to look at me. A few seconds before the light changed, he leaned in and gave me a soft, fleeting kiss on the lips. I touched my mouth, stunned. Then, I spoke in a timid, careful voice, feigning fear. Samuel Euros, I think I heard something just no Euros, maybe we should try again some other day. He looked at me for a long moment, a strange light in his eyes. The car behind us honked. A soft laugh escaped his lips, and he reached out and flicked my forehead gently. Samuel was a truly excellent boss. He was easygoing, good-tempered, and incredibly generous. A stark contrast to Theodore. It was like comparing a god to a gnat. Samuel threw himself into his work at the family company, his methods decisive and his results impeccable. While my sugar daddy was busy conquering the corporate world, I was free to do as I pleased. Initially, I was paranoid that Theodore would retaliate. I knew better than anyone how petty that bastard could be. But after more than half a month passed with no action, I began to let my guard down. I decided to go out to a bar for a drink. I had just ordered a glass of wine and taken a few sips when the atmosphere around me shifted. Several thuggish-looking men sat down around me, effectively trapping me at the bar. I took another calm sip of my wine, my eyes casually scanning the room. My gaze drifted up to the second-floor balcony, and there he was, Theodore, looking down at me. When he saw me looking, he raised his glass in a mock toast. Oh no, he was going to make his move. I subtly reached for my phone, planning to send a distress signal to Samuel, but I saw Theodore raise a hand and give a signal. The men next to me moved in closer. I was forced to slide my phone back into my pocket as they began to push and shove me towards the restrooms. As we passed a booth, I acted fast. I grabbed an empty wine bottle from the table and smashed it over the head of the man beside me. As he staggered, I delivered a sharp kick to the man behind him. While they were still reeling, I bolted down the corridor, found a random private room, rushed inside, and locked the door. "Samuel, help me!" I whispered frantically into my phone. "Theodore is trying to kill me." Samuel Euro's trade-s calm, cold voice came from the other end. Wait. Just as he said it, I heard Theodore Euro's trade-s voice from outside the door. "Smash the door down! Euro's trade LL take full responsibility for whatever happens tonight." His fingers tapped ominously on the door. "Trying to steal someone from me, Owen? You are Euro's trade V got some nerve." My heart hammered in my chest. I pressed my body against the door, holding it tight, and called out in a trembling voice, "Mr. Theodore, that night between me and Samuel was a misunderstanding. I was with you for 2 years. Letter Euros trade S just part on good terms. I have no reason to antagonize you." "Really?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. "Do you think I Euros trade am blind, Owen? You think I didn't Euros trade T see you deliberately throwing yourself into some whaler Euros trade S arms that day just to provoke me? Har, if I Euros trade D known you are Euros trade D come after me, I would have put on an even more affectionate show." I softened my voice, trying to reason with him before the door gave way. "Mr. Theodore, I was with you for 2 years. My feelings for you were sincere. But what about you? You treated me as a substitute for 3 years. Yes, I was being provocative that day. You didn't Euros trade T want me anymore. I just wanted Tor Euros to make you feel something. Perhaps my words had an effect." The pounding on the door stopped. Theodore spoke again. "Really? Then open the door." How stupid did he think I was? Seeing that I wasn't moving, his anger flared again. "Owen, are you stalling for time? Do you take me for a fool?" "Yes, you finally figured it out," I thought, but I didn't dare say a word. Suddenly, a new voice piped up from outside. "Mr. Theodore, here's the key." The sound of a key scraping in the lock sent a jolt of terror through me. I realized I couldn't hold the knob. I let go and scrambled back just as the door was kicked open with tremendous force. If I hadn't moved, it would have been me flying across the room. Theodore stood in the doorway, his eyes blazing. Owen, tell me, should I break your arms, your legs, or should I just emasculate you? I flinched. Mr. Theodore, I said in a small voice, emasculating me wouldn't do any good. I'm homosexual. His face twisted in rage and he lunged at me, pinning me down on the sofa. His fist was raised, about to descend. In a flash of inspiration, I turned my head to the side, presenting him with a profile that most resembled some whaler Eurostrade-s. Hit me, I whispered, a single perfect tear tracing a path from the corner of my eye into my hair. You don't want me anymore anyway. It doesn't matter what happens to me. It was the performance of a lifetime. Every acting skill I possessed channeled into that one moment. Theodore Eurostrade's arm trembled in midair. He hesitated, then finally, with a growl of frustration, he released my chin. Owen, if you are Eurostrade lying to me, I'll Eurostrade LL make you wish you were never born. Before I could reply, a figure appeared in the crowded doorway, instantly silencing the room. It was Samuel, dressed in a sharp, tailored suit. The usual coldness in his eyes was gone, replaced by something unreadable and intense as he looked at me, pinned beneath Theodore. Mr. Fu, Samuel said, his voice dangerously calm. I believe it Eurostrade's time you let go of my man. Theodore instinctively snatched his hand away. As I stood up, I saw a flicker of regret in his eyes. Without a word, Samuel walked to my side and calmly led me out of the bar, the crowd parting before us like the sea. The drive home was silent. Back at his apartment, Samuel, looking weary, sank onto the sofa. Playing the part of the considerate little lackey, I immediately moved to help him with his tie. Thank you, Samuel. He caught my hand, his palm warm against my skin. With a gentle tug, he pulled me onto his lap. His cool fingertips traced the line of my eyebrow. He stared into my eyes for a long time before speaking. Do you like him? Like who? Theodore. Don't a Eurostrade be ridiculous. Your Excellency Samuel. I swore, my voice full of conviction. I swear on my life. I was only lying to him because I was afraid he Eurostrade beat me to a pulp. He didn't Eurostrade move, didn't Eurostrade speak, just continued to study my face with that unnerving intensity. I gritted my teeth, then wrapped my arms around his neck, leaning in and rubbing my face against his neck like a kitten seeking affection. Besides, I purred, Theodore is impotent. There are Eurostrade's no future in liking him. Unlike you, Samuel, you are Eurostrade Euros gifted. Praising a Marner Eurostrade's prowess was always a safe bet. His hand came to rest on the small of my back, his touch sending an ambiguous shiver through me. He leaned his face close to mine. I pleaded in a soft voice, "It's still a Euros, it still aches a little from last time. Can you be gentle, Samuel?" "Owen," he murmured, his breath hot against my ear, "if you want to make me happy, you have to do it yourself." I was confused, not quite understanding his meaning. Not until I was lying limp across him, my eyes blindfolded with his expensive silk tie, the fabric soon becoming damp with my tears. "Some whaler Euros I can't Eurostrade take anymore," I sobbed, my voice broken in the darkness. Only his voice, once so cold, now hoarse with passion, answered me. "Be good and call me by my name, Samuel." In a surprising turn of events, Samuel decided I was more than just a plaything. He bought me several expensive suits and installed me in his company as a junior clerk. I thought it was some new, strange form of cosplay, but then he bent down, gave me a deep, lingering kiss, and said, "You can rely on my protection, but the protection of others is always limited. Study hard. If you perform well, there will be rewards." I stared at his retreating back, utterly bewildered. We were contract lovers. He was supposed to just pay me. Was he trying to euros cultivate me? Since my degree was in design, he placed me in the design department. The manager, clearly under instructions, showed me no favoritism. In fact, I ended up with more work than Samuel himself, and he was a notorious workaholic. It got to the point where even Samuel had to make an appointment if he wanted to sleep with me. The high-frequency work was exhausting, but I was learning an incredible amount. In just 1 month, I felt like a completely different person. Then, my father, who seemed to have forgotten he had a son, called. "Son, did you have a fight with Mr. Theodore?" "Theodore." After the bar incident, we hadn't a Euros trade seen or spoken to each other in over a month. A fight? What are you talking about? The family Euros trade's capital chain broke again, he lamented. I went to see Mr. Theodore, and he wouldn't Euros trade give me the time of day. I just assumed you two had a quarrel, Dad. Before I could explain the reality of the situation, his voice turned excited. Fortunately, Mr. Theodore is a magnanimous man. He overlooked your little temper tantrum and injected another 10 million into the company for me. Let me tell you, son, our Euros trade got my eye on a new investment. This time, there are Euros trade no way it can fail. We Euros trade going to be rich. Yes, I said wearily. You said the same thing last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. In the end, it was my future that paid for his losses. Wait, what did you say? Theodore invested in you. After he confirmed it, I hung up, stunned. Theodore had agreed to give my father more money. This had to be a trap. I know I sound paranoid, but Theodore was not a generous man. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Theodore. "Come see me." My heart sank, but I knew I had to go. I stood outside some whaler Euros trade's office for a long time, but ultimately decided not to disturb him. Samuel was right. Relying on someone else's Euros trade's protection was a temporary solution. While waiting for the elevator, Samuel and a group of executives happened to walk past on their way to a meeting. His gaze lingered on me for a fraction of a second. I felt a pang of guilt and quickly looked away. Even though I had officially requested leave, being caught by the big boss leaving for personal matters still felt wrong. The address Theodore gave me was a 5-star hotel. At the front desk, I simply mentioned his name, and the clerk handed me a room key without question. It was odd. Theodore had plenty of places to live. Why a hotel? As I stepped out of the elevator on his floor, a young man with a woman on his arm stared at me. He looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place him. He watched me knock on Theodore's door, then pulled out his phone, his eyes wide with shock. Just then, Theodore opened the door, and I dismissed the stranger from my mind. "Mr. Theodore, come in." He had clearly just showered. He was bare-chested, with a towel wrapped low around his waist. I had to admit, he was in good shape, tall, with defined abs and a handsome face. Objectively, he was an 80 out of 100. Samuel, of course, was a 95. I withheld the last 5 points simply to keep him from getting arrogant. "Mr. Theodore, my father doesn't know about our situation, so he approached you again. I came today to thank you for the investment, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He poured himself a glass of red wine and took a sip. Just a simple thank you, huh? Yes, and I'll transfer the money back to you, he sneered, downing the rest of the wine in one gulp before walking towards me. It seems Mr. Samuel is very generous. You even have the money to pay me back. He reached out to touch my face, and I instinctively flinched away. His expression darkened instantly. He grabbed the collar of my shirt, yanking me towards him. His voice was a sinister whisper. Didn't you say you liked me? Now you're avoiding my touch for Samuel. He wasn't a Euros trade tea surrounded by people this time. I was alone with him, and I didn't need to endure his nonsense anymore. I used to have feelings for you, Theodore, but that was 2 years ago. 2 years, and you were never won over. The second Samuel came back, you threw me out, calling me a stand-in. So what is this? Your stand-in is with your white moonlight, and you can't stand it. Since you can't touch Samuel, you decided to take it out on me, is that it? A dangerous light flickered in his eyes. He stared at my face for a long moment, then smiled a chilling smile. I never realized you were so eloquent. You were too busy staring at Samuel to notice my good qualities, I shot back without missing a beat. Think about it, he continued, his smile widening. I provided your family with so many resources, gave you so much money, and I've only ever kissed you. I've never even touched you otherwise. It seems like I'm at a loss, doesn't it? What nonsense are you talking about? I was stunned as his face moved closer and closer. Was he insane? A surge of pure animal danger shot through me. I shoved him hard and made a break for the door, but he caught my arm, pulling me back and pinning me forcefully onto the sofa. He straddled my body and began tearing at my shirt. Theodore, don't you love Samuel? How dare you touch me? In the struggle, my hand flew out and I slapped him hard across the face. He froze, stunned for a second, and then his own hand shot out, delivering a vicious backhand slap to my cheek. The force of it was staggering. Pain exploded across my face, and the side of my head instantly began to throb and swell. He gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with a terrifying possessive fury. And just like that, Owen finds himself trapped. The past he thought he escaped crashing down on him with the force of a blow. The game has changed, and the stakes have never been higher. He Eurostrayed no longer just a stand-in or a contract lover. He Eurostrayed an obstacle. And Theodore is done playing nice. What do you think will happen next? Will Samuel arrive in time? Or will Theodore succeed in his twisted revenge? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you are Eurostrayed dying to find out what happens, don't Eurostrayed forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't Eurostrayed miss the next part of this intense story.